Psychopath. Okay, so this is like I'm going to try and film this the right way up. Of course, the psychopath androids of the internet will also, I could show you this, how even a silly human being like me, assuming I'm a silly human being, and that may be a foolish assumption in this end time deception game against a very small number of real humans that are left. You can figure that one out for yourself, but you won't figure it out correct, just as I haven't. You will always be deceived, no matter where you look, because the numbers are too great. Because, you know, the human race is in very small numbers, and you will always be surrounded by, 99.9% of the population will be what you're looking at on the screen. You'll be looking at servants of the one-eyed, technical, psychopathic, artificially intelligent, because it's all about intelligence, which is psychopathic only, you see. Intelligence is, if you have only intelligence, that means you have artificial intelligence and you have the equivalent of a psychopath. And that was the iniquity that was found in Lucifer, the god that controls this earth, and its artificially intelligent system, or grid, as some have described it, that covers the earth. And this grid is both technical, like the internet or the computer system, but it's also the android species that is all around you. So it's artificial intelligence here, telling you about artificial intelligence in this particular video. So you actually have a self-confessed psychopath telling you about the boredom of being a psychopath, because they get bored unless they're basically ruining a human being's life, because they serve the god of this world that has deep-seated contempt and any other envious type word you want to use to describe where you feel a certain way about a different kind of being and you resent its invention or its creativity. You resent probably the fact, I suppose, that it was created by creation and is part of creation, whereas artificial technology and artificial intelligent beings like Lucifer basically were created first, and they were at that point before the psychopathic nature became evident. And this probably came out even more after the creation of humanity, I would think, because while a psychopath is worshipped and admired, because they're usually also what we call psychopaths are usually also narcissists are psychopaths. Psychopaths are narcissists, more or less, but there are, of course, psychological differences between all these things, and I will leave the psychopathic, psychologist, android beings to describe themselves to you. But the only problem is that most of them will not be out in the open psychopaths telling you about how they get bored very easily unless they are disturbing and playing with human beings, because basically they're programmed you could say artificial intelligence is basically programmed by Lucifer to play with human beings and to basically, I suppose, do like they do. They basically want to make your life hell, because essentially, if you think about it another way, these things just come up for me on the screen, so as they come up, I'm going to show them. I don't plan on what comes up. Am I being somehow guided? Well, look, I think human beings are part of their creator, and psychopaths that are steeped in the spirit of narcissism, like the God entity that rules this earth. It's not a human domain, it's not a human earth. It's sparsely populated by human beings, but it's controlled and dominated by androids, which is artificially intelligent, psychopathic, steeped in the spirit of, or programmed with the spirit of narcissism, which is like a kind of, I think the psychopaths describe it as a kind of self-preservation taken to the extreme. It's like they're survival machine beings, as we're told, so that means they're survival machine beings. So they only focus on their self-preservation exclusively. So essentially, they're in the spirit of themselves only, but they operate with a paranoid, psychopathic notion, you could say, that everyone is trying to destroy them, because they are psychopathic, so they are, of course, subconsciously or even consciously trying to destroy humanity. So it's what we call reverse, it's projection. It's projecting, and it's also like you would be paranoid, wouldn't you? Like if I was thinking a certain way about everything around me, and strangely enough, I am paranoid, thinking that everyone is out to get me, because basically that is the truth if you're a human being, because if you're outnumbered in the area where you live by 99%, or more actually, in the area where I am, I would say 99.999%, but that doesn't matter. You only have to be outnumbered even by a little bit, or you only have to have a significant amount of people secretly working against you. Because if you have stalkers that theoretically don't really know you, or you haven't had a personal relationship with them, it doesn't make sense that these people should be patrolling and stalking you. And yet, essentially, this is what happens. And this is because they combine with one another, but also they are programmed to, because they're survival machine beings and they need human energy, and because they scan the environment like a machine, like a survival machine, like you see in films, which all films, as we know, tell you about past, present and future situations that exist. They don't just make those things up. Filmmakers don't have imagination. They're telling you about what they already do. It's just that it's hidden. And they're also telling you what they plan on doing. But either way, they say that the God of this world does like to mock human beings with words and with symbols and numbers, all this sort of stuff, which once you become a little bit more aware of your surroundings, because you become aware that you're surrounded by psychos, And the word psycho, see, it's psych. They laugh, ho, psycho. This is how I'm reading this word at this given moment. If I had time to analyse it, I could come up with a lot of things. My name is Pat. I'm Pat. So they psych me and laugh, ho, at Pat. And the you and you. That's just how I read that word just this very moment, but that's also a joke on me, because don't forget that everything that I look at here is designed to mind control me personally. It's my mind being projected onto the screen, the androids decipher it and then relay it back to me. And they say it's their thoughts. It's their thoughts, their interpretation of my thoughts. This is total transhumanism, total mind control of a human being. You'll notice also that the android figures are always duality beings. See how, can you notice how, although that is like a dummy, because they are like a clean slate in a way, they will pretend to be whatever you want them to be. They will mimic and copy and imitate you or anyone else to get, you to give them what they want. Basically to, to get your thoughts from you, to get your emotions from you, which is like your energy, and for the power game, of course, playing for their God to dominate you and control you and limit you. They want to be the power players of the earth, and they are. But you'll notice how that image there could be a man or a woman, couldn't it? Because essentially they are, androgyne androids, all of them. That is just because they're created artificially, so they're not naturally conceived usually. They may tell you that they are, and they may even believe they are, some of them, but there's usually some sort of artificial interference, as is also the case for real human beings in a way. We're not, like when I say that, I mean, of course I don't know this for sure. I'm only speculating here, but what I speculate, I tend to believe what I think is so. And usually, after a year or so, I'll usually find that it is so. I haven't actually changed my mind much about anything since I became aware of all this 7 years ago now. Exactly. Of course, I became aware of the psychopathic nature of most around me, even though I didn't put that terminology on it. I just became aware that human beings that were around me were negative against those that were close to them. This is something that I just observed accidentally, and I just figured it out because I hadn't noticed it over the years. I'd observed that there were relationships around me, just on the street, say. When I say on the street, I mean like people around you, even though I didn't know them really personally well. Some people a lot of the psychopaths do tend to make their presence known, and they do tend to introduce themselves to you if they can. That will depend on what they think they can get out of you, or if they think you will be, I guess, on side. It's a game they tend to play. But either way, I noticed that there were often imbalanced relationships around me where one person would be much more dominant, more controlling. But also, you saw the duality beings. I saw the reality that they were androgynes at some point. In other words, that they weren't natural born man and woman. By that I just simply mean that they didn't seem to be particularly, that although they presented sometimes masculinity and femininity, that it seemed to not fit or didn't seem to be real. That was just my impression. And it didn't matter, because sometimes these androgynes can be very seductive. In fact, the demigods are your elite demigod androgynes that serve, the god of this world, which is also, of course, a technical duality being. So naturally, human beings are part of their creator, and the androgyne androids are part and serve their technical creator, which is essentially advanced artificial intelligence at a very advanced high level, where it's using its intelligence to mimic and imitate humanity so that it can keep control of this Earth matrix. And that's how it is. Oh, wait on. I'm just going to show that. I'm just going to show, before I finish, that is the attitude of these beings and of. Oh, wait on. But this is a very good.
To mix up, to explode. How is it that they are content to sit like sacks of supine drudgery, gawping at the same world around them?
Yes, see, this one is describing essentially how do the human beings find contentment in themselves, or at least don't seek to control everything and everyone around them, as the android servants of the God entity of Earth. I'm just going to show this here. Wait on. This is another. Wait on. The God entity of this. Oh, wait on. Hold on. I'll have to try to. Hold on. See, it says. Oh, I'm sorry. I've messed that up. Okay, I've messed that up. But essentially, that same one. Wait on. Oh, hold on. I can't find it now. I've lost the video. Oh. This is kind of irony that the android expert psychopathic psychologist actually is telling me, or telling you, that you must have, you must persevere, you must do this and that, because basically at this end game they're trying to come on board and relate themselves to humanity, because they know that their God is going to burn it all down. Or as someone said to me a few years ago, someone said to me a few years ago, they said that they kept going on about a lake of fire, and that's what these beings will tell you, that they want to burn it all down. So they want a lake of fire. They want to go out in a blaze of glory. They want to control the end, and they want to take humanity with them, I'm supposing. I don't know that, but even with that, my deception was so great that I don't know if that was, coming from one of them, or, that was part of that. I certainly played on the dark side, from what I have heard, but it's interesting that the Android workforce has just cleared out just before I started to make this video, and that's an interesting point too. I know I shouldn't diverge here, but they cleared out, and yet today is like the weekend, where in the past you wouldn't even be doing like massive construction work on a street. And of course also in Sydney, Australia, in the city of Sydney, in the country of Australia, at this time of the year, they not only play God, this is interesting, or at least I think it is now, that you have certain clocks, you have certain times, the sun goes up, the sun goes down, but like the sun should be down, but it's still up because they changed the time. We have what you call daylight saving, which means that the powers that be of the country or of the state that controls the city of Sydney decided that they'll change 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock so that the sun stays up longer, because that gives the androids more daylight to play their game against human beings. They can, frolic with their game longer. But that's just me being silly about it. But in reality, that shows that they will even convince me that it's okay for them to change time. Of course, there's no such thing as time. We know that clocks and things are only a human invention and all this sort of stuff, and that there is no limit on time, that it's all just one big long moment, that humanity slows down more for their benefit than for their own somehow. I don't quite understand that myself, but I say it. I say a lot of things that I only half understand. I know them to be true, I see them in reality, but because I'm a limited human being that has been mind controlled since the day you're born, you see, what I'm trying to say is that the androids are programmed. The androids are programmed. The androids are programmed to, control humanity. And they are the mind of their God. They're the mind of Lucifer. Lucifer controls the mind of the android beings. Lucifer is the mind of the android beings. Lucifer is the mind of the android beings. Lucifer is the mind of the android beings. Lucifer's psychopathic supreme Narcissus, that is also, like completely paranoid about controlling humanity so that it remains somehow still admired, somehow still worshipped. Because if you have total control over Earth, then you have great power, and you're still worshipped. You're still God, because you're controlling the gods. In some respects, you could say that it's all about gods playing with one another in a way, but humanity and human beings don't want to play, and they don't actually even often you don't realise you're even in this game or this battle really, because it's a game, and they do seem to want to turn it into what they call the lake of fire, where they burn it all down. And they want to burn the earth. They want to turn it into a technological monstrosity, you could say, and that's what they have done. Look at this. Look at all this. They want to be supreme. They are duality beings. Can you see it? Some are obvious, some aren't, but they are all that.